The media will not give Tulsi Gabbard a fair shake, and they're pretty obvious about it. Hi, thanks for watching. Today I want to talk about the CNN Town Hall that's going on. Today's Thursday. I guess last night they had part one of the Town Hall for CNN in New Hampshire. And tonight they will have night two of their Town Hall. Now, what's interesting about this Town Hall is CNN invited everybody with one exception. That's right. You will not be hearing from Tulsi Gabbard because they didn't invite her. Let's go to the story. Okay, here we are. This is Boston.com. Tulsi Gabbard supporters are protesting CNN's candidate town halls in New Hampshire. And it's a real nice picture they got of her. At least that's nice. CNN's hosting 8 Democratic presidential candidates for primetime town halls in New Hampshire this week, ahead of the state's first in the nation primary Tuesday. Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard didn't make the cut, and her supporters are crying foul. It's unfair to the voters of New Hampshire and the nation who is being denied the opportunity to hear directly from a candidate who is challenging the status quo, Gabbard spokesman Cullen Tieran told Boston.com in a statement. And we've got a couple other stories here. This is from The Hill, CNN's blatant and bizarre Tulsi Gabbard snub. It says CNN has held more town hall events than any of the 3 cable news networks over the past few years and continues the programming strategy as we head into the meat of the 2020 campaign. Now, for the most part, the network has made an effort to provide every candidate on the Democratic side during the primary season with an hour-long stage to answer questions from moderators and voters alike. And that's what makes CNN's decision to snub Representative Tulsi Gabbard from a series of town halls just days before the New Hampshire primary not only odd, but optically nonsensical. It says Gabbard is currently polling at 4.8% in Real Clear Politics Index of polls in New Hampshire. That puts her ahead of tech entrepreneur Andrew Yang, businessman Tom Steyer, and former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick. So what do these low-polling candidates all have in common? Well, they all received invites to the New Hampshire CNN Town Hall. The most recent poll from America Research Group released out of the state even has Gabbard ahead of Senator Amy Klobuchar, with the Hawaii Congresswoman clocking in at 8% to Klobuchar's 7%. And if we're talking just CNN University New Hampshire polling, Gabbard is at 5%, which places her 3 points higher than Steyer, 5 points higher than Patrick, who clocks in at 0.0%. Says, we've reached out, I think, more than once, and we've received no explanation, Gabbard told Fox News on Tuesday regarding the non-invite. I don't even think we've gotten a response to date about why they're excluding the first female combat veteran ever to run for president, the only woman of color in the race, she added. So that's interesting. And like it says in the article here, this is CNN's own poll. So the poll that CNN did has Bernie in first place, Joe Biden, Pete, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and then Tulsi Gabbard there in 6th place, ahead of Andrew Yang, ahead of Tom Steyer, ahead of Michael Bloomberg, ahead of John Delaney, ahead of Michael Bennet, ahead of Deval Patrick. And she was the only one that didn't get the invite. But that's not all. So here, David Wright from CNN. CNN will host 8 New Hampshire town halls ahead of the February 11th primary. Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Andrew Yang, Tom Steyer, Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, Deval Patrick. And here, this is a tweet. Tulsi Gabbard tonight. Guess who is the one candidate who didn't get an invitation? She raises her hand. Right here. So, no explanation whatsoever that she is not invited. Now, The campaign also sent out something today on Gabbard campaign condemns media bias, and I'll probably do a longer video about this. I think it's really important. But just a few things that have to do with this town hall. Let's look at this televised town halls by candidate. Pete Buttigieg has had 11 town halls. 11. Tulsi Gabbard, 1. Every other candidate that was in the race at the time has more town halls than they've given Tulsi Gabbard. It's ridiculous. And here's one more thing that has to do with CNN. In the week of January 27th to February 2nd, according to GDELT, Tulsi Gabbard was mentioned on CNN 0 times. From most to least, here are the mentions of Democratic candidates. So Biden was mentioned 639 times, Sanders 450 times, Warren 141 times, Buttigieg 139 times, Klobuchar 94 times, Bloomberg 90 times, Yang 12 times, Steyer 9 times, Gabbard 0. That's really telling, but it's not just CNN. On Tuesday, I took a little walk and got myself some coffee here at Stumptown. Got the New York Times, and here's a little video I made. So here I got the New York Times. I got my coffee. And let's see, more questions offer more insight into the candidates. Now, this is the New York Times National Edition, Tuesday, February 4th. Okay, where they've asked the candidates some more questions. And let's see, we got Michael Bloomberg, Pete, Amy, Tom, Elizabeth, Andrew. And then at the bottom, there's a message about those candidates that, are not listed there. So let's see what their statement is at the bottom, because they're so transparent about everything. It says, the New York Times reached out to 9 Democratic presidential candidates to ask them the same set of questions on video. 7 accepted the invitation. Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey was interviewed in December, but has since dropped out of the race. Former Vice President Joseph R. Biden Jr. and Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont declined to participate. Well, that's interesting, because if you were a reader of the New York Times and you picked up the New York Times and you looked at this and you say, oh, these are the candidates. We have all the candidates here. And, oh, hey, what about the candidates that weren't in it? And then you look at the bottom and say, yeah, Biden and Sanders didn't want to participate. Not one mention of Tulsi Gabbard. And again, she's polling like she polled at 8% in the last poll for New Hampshire. But I guess that's not good enough for the New York Times, because I don't think they've written a single positive thing about Tulsi Gabbard since she's entered the race. The bias here is ridiculous. And I would like anyone at CNN to explain this, to explain why they're leaving out a candidate that is polling well in the state that you're having the town hall. Explain it. New York Times. If you work for the New York Times, I just want one person from the New York Times to explain why in their article about the candidates, there's not one mention of Tulsi Gabbard. She's also the only candidate that's called out the New York Times and has called out CNN for their smears in the past. It's really a shame, because I know that people that read the New York Times, they think they're informed. And if you read the New York Times, I know you think you're informed. How informed are you when they're keeping a candidate from you? They don't even mention the candidate's name. CNN viewers, you think that you're informed about politics. You think you know what's going on. During that week, not one mention of one of the candidates? That is incredibly biased. And there is no explanation except you're propaganda, you're not news. That's the only way I see it. Now, if someone could explain it to me, I'm all ears. I'm ready to hear your argument as to why you did not include Tulsi Gabbard in the town halls. That's right, but Mayor Pete's had 11. Lets you know who the media wants. Yeah, I don't want that at all. So, now the funny thing is if you want to learn about Tulsi Gabbard, you will learn more on my channel, right? For the very few videos that I make a week, you'll get more coverage than you will on CNN or at the New York Times. That just tells you how terrible they are at covering this election. It's ridiculous. And you can really, really help me get the word out on this by sharing this video, because we know YouTube ain't going to share it. So please share the video, share it in different platforms on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever you can, on Reddit. That would be awesome. Let me know your thoughts. Peace.